Goodbye, 2020. Welcome, 2021. At Jerry Coleman Tribute and the latest player movement, Diamond Diehards, is on. Joe Rizzo here bringing you baseball a lot with the Dawg, Jeff Healy. We are moving on from 2020. We are moving into 2021, and we have a nice little show planned for you right now. We're sneaking the live stream. We're doing it back to the way we used to do it, where we got the live stream going. We're just live streaming on the Facebook group, and we're not live streaming to the other avenues. So Xavier Rizzo, who's been acting as the producer very often, has been helping me with some videos and lining up the audio and the video afterwards. So we'll post those videos there. The good video later on. We'll post it in the podcast, the audio, just like we always have and always will. And in the meantime, we want to make sure that you follow the Facebook page and the Facebook group. If you're watching this, then you follow the Facebook group already. But we also have a Facebook page. And on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram, we are Diamond Diehards. You can also find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. For the listeners out there, you pull an Uncle Paul, you subscribe to the audio on iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher, and then as you jump in and out of this video or the live stream or whatever it is, then boom, you go back and on your power walk. By the way, 8.4 miles from me this morning. Then you go back and listen to all the wonderful audio. Visit fmsgraphics.com for all your printing and promotional needs. It doesn't matter that it's not the holiday season anymore. FMS Graphics is the place to go for your printing and promotional needs. And as we start to open up the economy, hopefully very soon, you're going to start needing your marketing stuff. So the Dawg is with us, and we are going to start this one off. In our pre-show meeting, we were searching for veteran of the day, and boy, did we discover what we did. We like this veteran of the day choice so much that we're actually going to spend the first segment of the show talking about this American hero. And for that, we will bring in the Dawg, Jeff Healy.
All right. And yeah, this one, a rare one that the veteran of the day was actually picked out by Joe Rizzo on this one. Great. Actually, Jerry, Riz had two that were teed up. One we were going to do Tug McGraw, which was a great one in its own right, on the anniversary of his passing. But Tug, we're going to have to wait for next year. You know, just like a Met, you got to wait till next year. So that's going to be it for Tug. But our veteran of the day this time is Marine Corps Captain Jerry Coleman. And Jerry Coleman joined the Marine Corps as an aviation cadet in World War II, and then in World War II went on to serve 57 combat missions in a dive bomber. So starting Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands, the Philippines. So this is kind of back in the day when we were kind of the underdog in the air at this point. So these are definitely very, very high risk missions back then in World War II. During that time, Coleman earned 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses and 7 Air Medals, which is already a pretty incredible career. Then in Korea comes along, he comes back in to serve his country once again and flew 63 combat missions, earning 6 more Air Medals along the way. So he's also a member of the Marine Corps Sports Hall of Fame. And we'll talk a little bit some of his baseball stuff in a little bit. We'll save that for the combo with Riz. But I will say, let's see, concerning all his dedication, and he had a recruit depot at San Diego, the field house at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego. The field house is named the Jerry Coleman Center in his honor. And at the announcement, he said Jerry would have loved today for one major reason. Despite all the success he had in the professional roles that he led in his life, he was proudest of being a Marine. So that pretty much says it all. So this is hats off to you, Marine Corps Captain Jerry Coleman, proud Marine aviator, served in World War II and Korea.
So,
and what else do you do, Riz?
You see, I'm holding up 4 fingers right now, not because it's the fourth quarter that they're going in, like the U, who were the originators of that.
Here we go.
By the way, 4 rings. So before he ever steps on, a Major League Baseball field. He had served heroically in World War II, and then, in the midst of it, it's like he's just, Ted Williams is flying buddy, basically, like shooting people down when as Dawg said, has said, shooting people down when like you got shot down more,
Yeah.
like that was the craziness of it. So he starts his career at age 24 with the Yankees, and that's in 1949. He finishes third in the Rookie of the Year voting, and then he gets his only All-Star appearance in 1950, the next year, and that was that second year in 1950 was the only year really, besides his first year, that he was, a full time, 100 almost every game regular. He played 153 games. So his first year he played 128. His third year he played 121. Only 1 year after that did he ever even make 100 games. So he was, he was in and out. He was doing all these other things, and playing 11 and 8 games and 52 and 53 for reasons that Dawg was just talking about. And he was a great second baseman who had probably a lot more promise as a baseball player, if he doesn't ever serve a day in the military. Like if he doesn't ever do that, he probably has a much greater baseball career if you judge by the first couple of years of his career, when he's hitting 275 and 287, um, with a little bit of pop and good defense, and could draw a walk for you. I mean, he was one of these do anything kind of players. And he manages to get 3 rings, three to two, the first two as a regular, the last two as a semi regular, a bit player. And the amazing thing is that most guys would take that baseball career in a second, and it pales in comparison to his military career. And then on top of that, he's a Ford Frick Award winner from 2005, which puts him in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And he's a legendary announcer for the Padres, not to mention that he called games for uh, for the Yankees as well. He called Mickey Mantle, his old teammate's 500th home run on WPIX. I mean, the guy, you could hang a star on 3 different careers for him, as a baseball player, as a member of the United States Marine Corps, and as a baseball announcer. I mean, it's unbelievable. And we discover him. Not we don't discover him. I mean, we know who he is, but um, today's the fifth, rather the what is it, the seventh anniversary of his passing, which was January 5th, 2014. So, Dawg, I think it's kind of, it might seem kind of strange that with all the people that we lost, especially in baseball. I mean, we lost a top flight of baseball players during this awful pandemic. And we go back to a guy who passed away 7 years before to honor him, but it's just too good to pass up. I mean, Jerry Coleman's an amazing story, and all that, and he lived till 89 years of age. Amazing. 263, 16 homers, 217 ribbies. He even managed a year and was 73 and 89. I mean, he managed the Padres in 80. The guy just did everything in this life. What a baseball. I mean, Dawg, is it a baseball story? Is it an American story? What is it?
I mean, really, it's a true Renaissance guy, right? I mean, that's kind of what you would have said back way back when. Just amazing to have all those disparate careers all together. I mean, just think of, like, the guy learned to fly like planes off a carrier. Like, when like people died a lot doing that, like back
I
in the
know.
day. I mean, just think of that skill set, and then to be able to hit a baseball, the hardest thing like in sport, right? And oh, by the way, at the end, like just for giggles, he'd be like a great announcer, and I'll manage just to say I did one time along the way. So just remarkable. Actually, I just looked up here that he's buried in Miramar. So the guy's freaking Top Gun. that's that's pretty telling right there. So
Eh,
yeah, great job by Riz digging this one out. I gotta say, when you were talking about going back to the way we used to do the doing the show. I'm like, oh, you with no planning? It's like, you want to do a show? I'm like, well, I'm actually working, but
Yeah, but I
we
was
give you to 501.
I waited for 501.
That's true.
I
That's true.
waited.
So that
I
was
mean,
pretty good.
it was 501 in 8 seconds, and then it took us a half hour for Dawg to figure out how to
Uh,
not make his Zoom go down.
oh my goodness. Yeah, not a good day for the laptop here. But 8 miles this morning too is pretty impressive. Must
Yeah,
have
you know.
burned a couple podcasts on that one. Was that a full Rogan or?
No, I think it was. What did I do today? I did the last. I think it was like the last 20 minutes of Mad Dog from a Monday, Mad Dog, Christopher Russo. The last 20 minutes of that show,
The other dog.
and yeah, the second dog as
Second
opposed to
dog.
you, the original dog. And let's see, what else did I do? I definitely did the Cam Jansen and Andy Strickland podcast, which was Ken Hitchcock. I was back in the archives to do that one, not that far. That's a good one that I like. The former Devils and St. Louis Blues pugilist does a really good podcast. If you're a hockey person, I recommend that one. They do some really good interviews there. I'm trying to think if I had finished another one. Oh yeah, I did the Ken Hitchcock one, and then I started the Craig Conroy one. So I doubled up on them and a little Mad Dog and maybe a little Opie Radio in there. I don't know. It was like an hour and 50. I think I clocked in under 13-minute miles though in the
That's moving.
34-degree morning weather with no sun to help me out. I was a
That's
little
a that's
cold.
a that's a that's a forced march.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a veteran though, so I'm just.
That's yeah, that's miserable.
I got the flag hat on though today. I got the American flag hat on. You know why? Because it's U.S. versus Canada in the Hockey World Juniors gold medal game later. So if you're watching live, don't forget to check that out. I don't know. I saw. Is this a hockey podcast? Guess what? It is
Or
now.
what?
It is now. So
What do you
shut up.
think you were signing up to here?
Yeah. Well, signing up to hear about baseball. So you heard a little bit about Jerry Coleman, his tagline, "Hang a star on that baby." I mean, it's all stuff you've heard. You know, you go back and you listen to big calls, like any big moment in Padres history from the '80s. You know, his voice is behind it. Um, it's you know, he's a guy that you knew, if you're certainly if you're our age. We didn't know him as a player, but you definitely knew him as a broadcaster. And you know, what was rarely talked about was his freaking military service. I mean, it's unbelievable when you look at. He's got to be he's got to be close to, if not one of, the absolute top flight of American military professionals that played in the majors. I mean, who this is me putting Dog in the spot, which is a bad job. I mean, Ted Williams is the one you always think of, right?
Yeah.
But Jerry Coleman's, I mean, is he
I mean,
far
in terms of
behind? I mean,
accomplishments in both
no,
rigs
no,
and
no,
stuff.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
I
I
mean, just
mean,
flat.
military accomplishments for players that played in the majors.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I can't think of anyone else
I mean,
that would hit that.
he's there with Ted Williams. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, two distinguished flying crosses. I mean, I think that's. I don't know anybody else who's matched anything like that. I mean, that's like what's it? That's like just below Silver Star, I think. So not as familiar on the Navy side and stuff, but yeah, that's a tremendously high honor to achieve that.
yeah, he's in the Marine Corps Sports Hall of Fame.
Be like the Marine Corps Hall of
I
Fame.
mean, and the baseball. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
and the Baseball Hall of Fame
yeah.
because of the
Oh, actually,
Ford Frick Award.
that was a good one we got to hit, right? He was one of the only players with two to be in both wars.
Yeah,
So the only major league player to serve in serve in two wars, so Korea and World War II,
it's crazy,
which was an interesting one.
crazy stuff.
Sorry, so I'm fighting my Microsoft Teams right now, which is trying to kill me on my laptop. lousy thing. Oh, actually, no, we got to do another shout out to. We should do a shout out to Barstool Sports, I think. So Dave Portnoy doing a Barstool Sports Fund for small businesses that have been hurt by COVID. So
Okay,
just
so as
in my sports Twitter feed over here, I did pop up. I saw this big bug sitting there. I'm like, you know what? We should probably do a nice shout out. He's done a really nice job with that.
so
Last couple
I
weeks.
mean, I feel like that goes perfectly into our goodbye 2020, hello 2021. So
Yeah.
2020 is all about this pandemic. It's
What was us?
it's bad news. It's just bad news after worse news, and then just as Dawg, as you like to say, from one of the lessons you learned from being in the military is it can always get worse. And
It's true.
I mean, as bad as 2020 was, it could always get worse. So not necessarily thank your lucky stars, but be glad that it's over with, and then hope for more of a good fortune to turn around in 2021. So you start to see stuff like what El Presidente Dave Portnoy is doing for the Barstool Fund, raising millions and millions of dollars, and then vetting these companies quickly, essentially, and starting to give them a revenue stream, and not canceling that revenue stream after like 2 months, saying, okay, you're in the program, you're going to keep getting it until the pandemic ends, because what good is it to get you through a month or two only to have you fail in month 3? No good. That's what we call common sense. Right? So uh you're right, good on him. I mean, so let's start marking down some of the good things of 2021. The Barstool Fund, right?
There you go.
That's
That's
a
a
good
goodie.
one. What else is going to be good in 2021, Dawg? Maybe the fact that we can now look at an entire NFL regular season having been played without a game being missed, and there are some hardships going on that are going to happen here, and I want to review that a little bit, and take it as, okay, this is a 2020 to 2021 thing now. So the good is that the Cleveland Browns finally made the playoffs
I knew
after
you were going here.
18 years on the outside looking in, and most of those years being really shitty, and getting excited on draft day with high picks, only to have nobody ever pan out. Um, so they finally make it, and then the coach and their best offensive lineman get COVID, and they're not going to be there for the game against it. Their 7-time All-Pro guard, he's slogged through all their bullshit over the last however many years playing for the Browns, and now he can't get there. However, what does this mean to baseball, right? What it means is the game is going on, they're going to play it, and there might be, in the meantime, other people who get COVID or have to be in the COVID protocol and will miss the games. Players, coaches, announcers like Tony Romo missed his game last week, and Boomer Esiason came in and subbed for him and did really well, by the way. I mean, not that it's a surprise to us because we know Boomer's really good, but like he did really great on TV with Jim Nance. So what does this mean for baseball? Well, guess what? We saw it in the truncated season, and we're going to probably see it a little bit, especially as the season gets underway. It's just a matter of figuring out, Dawg, at this point, if they're going to start the season on time. Now
Yep.
the indication is that they are going to start it on time. At least that's what they're saying, because they've indicated now just in the past day or two that spring training will start on time in, I guess I think the date I heard was February 13th, which theoretically isn't like, on time, because it's always like Groundhog Day for pitchers and catchers, right? But in a nutshell, if teams are getting together down in Florida, right, and Arizona, right, then they're starting this thing in February. Maybe they're going to need a little extra time if you have outbreaks and you got to shut stuff down and you can't work on things every day, twice a day. Now you're out for a couple of weeks, and they I still could see the Dawg's plan of May 1st
Yeah.
being plugged in. And also, right, it depends on how the vaccination rollout is going at that point. By then we'll have switched to a new regime in, at the top of American politics from Trump to Biden, and we'll see, if that magically, if 100 million people get vaccinated in the first 100 days or first month or whatever Biden says he's going to do. So we'll see. I mean, all that stuff is going to affect baseball, but the best thing to look at is how is another sport doing it? And football is not comparable to baseball in a lot of ways, but in this way, it definitely is, right? You
That's
have the
actually harder,
players. Yeah, it's
right?
harder. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
harder.
I would say. I mean, there's a little bit more travel with baseball, but it's a smaller contingent than you have with football. Um, more, I guess, more interdependence too, right? I mean, you have like, fielding is kind of comparable, right? But so much of it is individual sport versus the individual pitcher, let's say, versus everything in football is an 11 on 11. Um, and then throwing specials there on top as well. So if you can make it work in that kind of sports environment, then you should be able to make it work in the baseball environment. And baseball did manage to plug through it. I mean, to me, it really comes down to, and I sort of still am sticking to my May 1st on it. I think the owners are in the midst of negotiation with the players. I think that's sort of the back and forth. And right now, it's the owners are saying you gotta do the whole season, or that's that. And we'll see if there's a little bit of negotiation, because they have to not do that. They need to get agreement by the Players Association. And the Players Association, I think, is going to be in the mood of, we kind of gave it up a little bit for you last year. We're not looking to do the same here again. But if that feels like that's a short bridge to get across, right? I mean, you're talking 20 games or something like that, that you make up or you don't. Decide what you're going to do on that. And you could probably hold them down in spring training, right? You could probably just tide it over for a little while there. That is interesting, like, decision point, right? When would you, if you knew you were going to do May 1st, you'd probably tell everybody stay home until March 1st, right? Because the problem is when you bring people in, now you have more of a potential of intermixing. Like once you get in, you want to kind of keep them in and have them locked in as best you can. So I guess that's the thing, that if they're if they're doing it right, they should decide as soon as possible when to do it, and then to phase that in with that opening. I guess there's some talk too of they don't want to look like they're jumping the line in terms of getting vaccinations for the players, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever. I mean, we know that's going to happen at some point, and I don't know. I'm sure there's enough people in New York to be okay if Jacob deGrom got a shot. I mean, you're talking to 100 guys, right? I mean, really, is it that big of a deal? In the state, okay, we get 100 guys, go a little bit ahead of time. He's not booting out the firemen to get it by that point, right? So it's they're
Oh, it's a
so we'll
big
see.
deal. It's a big deal. You bet your ass.
I'm sure De Blasio can make it a big deal. Somehow that would be a problem.
Well, he didn't seem to mind letting the Brooklyn Nets get all the COVID tests when it was all
Exactly,
happening.
but that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
COVID tests, were completely hard to come by, but somehow 12 Nets got them. Hey, you guys are, and you guys wait, the Nets moved to Brooklyn. Anyway, it a lot to be learned also, Dawg, from, speaking of the Brooklyn Nets, right? We have the NBA playing. We have hockey ready to start. This is we are recording or live streaming the show January 5th, a Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the year. And we're 8 days away from them dropping the pucks in the NHL again, the non-bubble, right? So we're in this entire non-bubble situation. The sport that's really kind of been hit the most sounds like the Diamond Dog is awake, fired
By
up.
the way, shout out to the Diamond Dog. It's the 1-year anniversary of the Diamond Dog being adopted by the Healy household. So,
Wow, good job on that.
good job, Somerset Regional Animal Shelter. Good job
Nice
there.
plug. Good plug. Important
Yeah,
plug.
I like that.
Important plug.
Dropping them in
Thank
there.
you. Thank you for that. Yeah, what the hell was I talking about?
I don't know. We're
Yeah,
talking about
so
the Diamond Dog.
the Diamond Dog just barking up the wrong tree. Help me out, Dog.
That's basketball. They're talking
yeah,
that's
yeah. Okay.
basketball and then how to jump on the line, all that silly stuff.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. So we were looking at so hockey. Yeah, hockey's about to start, all non-bubble, and the sport that got derailed the most probably was college football, because
Yeah.
you had, no uniformity. You had the Big Ten, which left it up to, the SEC and the ACC to be the guinea pigs. And them in the Pac-10, once they saw that it was working, they jumped in like their hair was on fire because they didn't want to miss the money. And now you have Ohio State playing Alabama for the national championship, despite the fact that Ohio State's only played 7 games. I mean, regardless of the fact that they kicked Clemson's
Destroyed.
ass up and down the field.
Answered a lot of questions with that one.
Yeah, they did, but they were well rested. They didn't have to play like 4 other games, right? And they started the season a month and a half or 2 months late. So maybe they were more healthy and less beaten up. I don't know. The point not important for this show. Important point being that the pro leagues have done a good job managing this thing. And, short of that, you might have some real issues with people having to sit out and games being canceled and seasons being, truncated, not on purpose, like from the beginning, the way baseball did it, where they said we're going to have a 60-game season. Basketball said we're having 72. Hockey said we're doing 56. Football said we're football. We're doing all 16. We're not even adding an extra bye week. We're just going to make teams play without a quarterback. But we are playing, and they did. They completed all their games on time. And now they're going to go through the playoffs. And, I mean, God forbid Patrick Mahomes comes down and has to go through COVID protocol, then the Carol Hilbert's Chiefs are going to be watching from the sidelines, for the rest of the playoffs. And, the Ravens will be there because they already had it and they're probably less susceptible. I liked your point about the less contact on the field in terms of baseball. There seems to be less, and we saw it this past year, even when there were wild outbreaks in the Miami Marlins, not just I mean, we want to say locker room, we'll say community, and the St. Louis Cardinals community, it didn't spread heavily or quickly to other teams. A couple of guys in the Phillies sort of came down with it after exposure with the Marlins. I think the Cardinals may have left, 1 or 2 in their trail, but it didn't cause other teams, as a result, it didn't cause other teams getting breakouts. So, the other thing is when you're looking at this year, right? A lot of guys on the Marlins and the Cardinals had it already. So if you're going to bet the overs, you might want to bet the overs on those 2 teams, right? Like they're going to be less susceptible maybe to having outbreaks because half of their guys already have it. They have, herd immunity in their locker room. So very interesting takes there on, 2020, let's get rid of it. Let's start 2021 and look ahead and look positive. I think things are looking up, Dog. I think they are. A lot of every time we've talked about it on this show, every time the Marlin outbreak started, people were like, that's it. Baseball's stupid. They're idiots. They were idiots to think that they could get this done. And you know what? Somehow they did. And the Cardinals thing came out. These guys are dreaming. Rob Manfred's a buffoon. He's irresponsible. Guess what? Baseball got it done. Both of those teams made the playoffs. They made the playoffs. Playoffs.
Almost everyone made the playoffs, except for the Mets.
Yeah. Except the team you wanted to.
Exactly.
So that happened, right? And then the Ravens had their outbreak, and people were like, oh, the NFL, Roger Goodell is just after the money. These owners are selfish. They don't give a shit about the players and blah, 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 blah. And you know what? They played. So it was a disadvantage to some teams like the Broncos, and they were a little more.
They gave Lamar Alexander every
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson every opportunity to get on the field, and then the Browns are like, oh, you don't have a quarterback? Oh, that's too bad.
No, the Broncos. Broncos. They had to play a guy who was a wide receiver
Oh
on the
yeah, I'm
practice
sorry.
squad,
Yes, the Broncos.
and he
I'm
played
losing.
quarterback like a couple of years
Yeah,
at Wake
that's right. It's
Forest,
the
and then he was
Broncos.
behind, and then he got moved to wide receiver at Wake Forest to play behind, I think, the guy who's now the Rams quarterback. So that's
Well,
so
the way the Eagles are going, I was waiting for the Broncos guy to come in the fourth quarter.
yeah, I know. He probably would have done
This
better.
veteran, this veteran.
Yeah. I refer to Doug Peterson as ass for the remainder of his tenure with the Eagles.
Exactly.
More on that later, as Jerry Milani would say. So yeah, so we have these lessons learned. They're going to play games. Hopefully, there's fans that are able to be in the stands. Because I think, Dawg, I mean, like you've talked about, I think that's probably the biggest factor to baseball deciding whether they're going to start on time. Like the owners would probably be more willing to give up a few of those dates in front of empty or less full stadiums if they felt confident that by like May 1st anyway, they would start to get people in there. I think they could make or at least be coerced a little bit to make the concession and say, look, okay, you know what, players, we took a beating last year. You took a beating last year. We're these first few games, we're not getting any other bonus money. The TV contract is the TV contract, but yeah, we're going to go and play, and you're going to get paid for the 162 rate. So we'll see. But if it looks like some of these places, like these California teams, man, who the hell knows if they're going to even if they're going to let them in
Don't play at all.
at all. Like if you're even going to let them play there. Yeah, look at the 49ers have had to play their last 3 home games in Arizona because they were
They
saying
seem to like it there. They're going to move to Arizona like every other Californian who can leave.
yeah, or Texas. They moved to Texas and Arizona. Um, so we'll see, I guess, all about that. So why don't we wrap up that little segment, Dawg, and then we'll go on to the latest movement and hot stove stuff. How about that? What do you think about that?
Sounds good.
Mark the time. Mark the time. Wait. Mark the time. Wait. I literally have to mark the time on that, so it's easier. Okay. Where are we? We're no different than the last time we did a show, except if you think Luis Avilan,
It's quiet out
leaving the
there.
Yankees to go to the Nationals is a big deal, or Kurt Casale leaving the Reds to go to San Francisco, a la Al Michaels, right?
It's too quiet out there.
Hall of Famer Ford Frickwood winner Al Michaels from Cincinnati to San Francisco a long time in '75. It might have been '74. Nestor Cortez going from Seattle back to the Yankees. I mean, come on. There's really not a heck of a lot of stuff going on. And according to the tracker, I only see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 moves since the new year started, which leaves still out there Real
All the big
Muto,
fish.
Bauer, Springer, and if you want to, I like to add Simeon to that group. You could add Marcelo Zuna to that group, LeMahieu, um, Didi Gregorius, Liam Hendricks, I guess, though, Dawg is the name that you really wanted to talk about right now.
Yeah, I mean Hendricks is obviously the top reliever in my opinion that's out there to get picked up at this point. We've kicked around before. Where does he sort of make sense for different things? I've muttered I think the Dodgers before. I was talking to the Blue Jays who are talking to everybody. Doesn't seem like they're closing on anybody. So always talk, never buy. But they're looking around on them. There's a little speculation on the Mets. I don't really see that. I don't really sort of see the fit. I think other teams have bigger needs that would be gunning for Hendricks than the Metsies. But yeah, he's sort of like the next big ticket one, and the top closer always gets a ton in free agency. So it's interesting. You were talking on sort of the speed, how slow it's kind of been. I actually saw an interesting stat where we're sort of at like I'll say like around 15% or 20% of like the monies that are normally committed by this time period in free agency. We're down like 80% or so from where like sort of I think from the 80% from the record and maybe 60% for like the normal. sort of time frame that that people have committed to. And I forget it's certain billions. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it does sort of foot to what we're thinking at this point, right? That we just haven't really seen too many of the top players go at this point. And the crazy thing's going to be is when it goes, it's going to go, right? Like also whenever Springer or Bauer goes, then Mets or Blue Jays probably jump on the other guy quick, or someone else tries to come in the last second to kind of swoop in and get somebody within there as well. And then once that level gets set, does that trigger kind of everybody else?
It does. It has to at some point, right? Because now,
especially if you're gonna start. I mean, we might be a month away from spring training.
yeah, you got to get these
Right.
people settled. I mean, what if some of these guys are out of the country? They need to.
I mean, you got to quarantine 2 weeks.
Actually, you don't
right?
even have to be out of the country. You just have to be out of the state in a lot of these places where you have.
Unless you go to Florida, you can do whatever you want. So maybe that's
no. I don't know. I don't know.
I think you're still supposed to quarantine when you get down there.
Yeah.
And Arizona certainly as well.
So, again, these guys that didn't like, I still think the guy that you want. I mean, I like the idea of Hendricks, but I was watching a nice little panel on MLB Network. I think it was last night, the 4th of January, and it was Dave Valley, the former catcher, good defensive catcher, hit lefties pretty well, couldn't really hit righties.
Catcher's always the best commentators, so
yeah,
they know the whole game. Yeah.
It usually had a usable strat card. You needed a platoon for him, minus arm. Yeah, there you go. For the strat heads. Everyone's got to cover the strat heads, baby. So
you could use some on the Metsies.
yeah, actually, yeah. But he made a good point, like about, or in this thing, like he was very high on spending on a Liam Hendricks because you feel like he's more of a bankable guy than some of the other guys. And now I wish I could remember who the other guy was that was sort of making the counterpoint. I really liked the counter. I liked the point and the counterpoint, and the point of Valley being a guy like Hendricks has really, he's used analytics very, very, very effectively. And he's taken to throwing his four-seamer much, much more because of analytics. He looked at analytics and, he embraced the analytics and was like, wow, my four-seamer is pretty unhittable. Maybe I should throw that like over 50% of the time or 40%, whatever it was. He doubled the percentage that he was throwing that, and he halved the percentage that he was throwing his two-seamer. And all of a sudden, like, the guy's a lights out reliever. He had that one bad outing in the playoffs, which is kind of the time that you really want him to be excellent, but whatever. It bodes well for him going forward that he's looking at that kind of thing. And, that might help. That might be that next wave where we see relievers that have this, like, often like a 2 or 2.5 year span where you're like, man, this guy's numbers are unbelievable. And then all of a sudden they either tail off quickly or just drop off a cliff. And you're like, this guy can't get anybody out. What we're seeing a lot of now is, wow, this guy couldn't get anybody out. And wow, now he has 7 saves for the Rays. How did that happen? Like, we've seen a lot of that too. We've seen a lot of that over these last few years. So it seems like the relievers who are embracing analytics are extending out those windows before, which makes them a little bit more of a bankable commodity. And I know you and I like to talk about the the financial side of the game, especially because of we really appreciate our followers on LinkedIn, where we've, surprisingly, like, I didn't really expect that so much for a podcast, but we've built up a nice little base there. And, that pitches well on LinkedIn, where you're saying, hey, we're talking about finances. Dawg has more degrees in the Sahara Desert to talk about this stuff. And, he feeds 6 kids, so he must know a little bit about what he's doing when it comes to the dollar and the cents. He's got basically, he needs one more person. Actually, if you count the Dawg, he's got a starting 9.
Oh, totally count the Dawg.
Yeah. Dawg, you gotta,
choose the shift.
Yeah. You gotta,
like Snoopy.
Dawg's playing center. Why? Good range. Good range. Can cover
Springer.
up.
She's a Springer Spaniel.
Covers up the mistakes of Michael in left and Molly in right, with good range over there. So the finances of the counterpoint were very, very good. And I wish I remember which panelist was on there. I just remembered that it was Dave Valley. And he said, well, with the Rays sort of model, you're actually better off. You might be able to get three guys for the price of one Hendricks, and you're going to get a good chance that one of them's going to pan out, and then you even have a decent chance that like maybe more than one of them might pan out. And that's been sort of the Rays model, right? Where you get these guys that were not much somewhere, and then they go elsewhere, meaning to Tampa Bay, and it's whatever juju they have there, whether it's every single guy on the pitching staff has a different arm angle, whether it's their spin rotation, their scouting reports, the shifts, four outfielders, five infielders, whatever it is. I mean, you know that couldn't keep them from taking Blake Snell out of the game, but
I mean, it's interesting.
but he's gone now.
I
So
I hear that, then I think of Porcello and Waka. I'm like, oh, if we just get a couple of guys in the hopper, like at least one or two of these guys would be okay for a number 4, number 5 starter. And so maybe that's sort of the flip side on at that point. It's interesting. We were sort of talking a couple of shows back, I guess. Sort of like the flexibility within a system, and how that's kind of used, and is that kind of starting to become more the model again. Like I sort of like your point of like doing the analytics with Hendricks, and the four seamer gets this. Well, then it's sort of like pitching starting to catch up to probably the hitting. I would say it was probably a little bit more on the analytical side earlier on, and sort of picking up like the different heat zones and stuff. The guys tend to mash and whatever. And this starts to turn to more and more of a point counterpoint, right? And kind of each, like as Hendricks picks up on that, well, now all the hitters are going to, hey, this guy throws twice as many fastballs up now, right? So also I got to learn to deal with that and hit that the other way, or hit that, just be sitting there waiting for it, and then get my launch angle on the high fastball and try and take it out. And it turns into the classic, adjustment, counter adjustment, back and forth. And the more you have the flexibility to to have the next trick, right? So when everyone picks up on Hendricks' four seamer, what's his next move, right? Does he have a move to go back to? It's like, well, now I'm going to use more control with it as well. So rather than using the four seamer that's rising all the time, maybe I'll bust it up and in more. I'll bust it down and away more. If he's that kind of caliber pitcher to be able to do that, that gets that hitter back off balance again, and then he will regain the advantage. And maybe that's sort of thing, like you say, the 2 to 3 years, and that's what it sort of takes at this point, is that's almost like his product life cycle, right? So he gets it, he's ahead of the guys, now people adjust. Now the great ones make that adjustment again, the other guys, not so much.
does that depend on who the other guys are in your bullpen? Maybe. Who knows? Like pitching's always the great mystery. Why do pitchers get hurt? Why do some have Tommy John surgery? Why, does it have to do with innings? Why does Dawg look like he lost his keys right now? What's he doing over there?
My left fielder's coming over asking me questions.
Oh yeah. And my
Center fielder almost bit my arm off too before.
My second baseman was asking me if I wanted anything for dinner on text, so I was trying to manage that. I went salad with grilled chicken and maybe beets, I think, just for the record.
Beets.
I love beets.
Beets, Bears, Battlestar Galactica. For the office. Schrutes beets.
Schrutes beets. I love beets. I am like Russian. I love beets so much, and hockey. So what else, Dawg? I think we covered it all today. Well, we never used the word today. We used January 5th. We used Tuesday. Tuesday. I think we scared off all the rest of the live viewers, which is nice. Maybe one just jumped back on. Let's see. Should we give some shout outs here? I didn't see Uncle Paul in there, but I saw Dwayne. I saw George Love, and hopefully Quentin, you're on here. I was glad to see that Quentin
Peter Blazovic
was joining in. Peter. Oh, Pete B. There's Pete B. Susan's on there. Thor was on. Okay, good.
Nice.
Yeah,
we got some folks in there.
Rolling.
Got some folks.
I was looking for Quentin on the live stream, but Dwayne said he was on the phone with him. So we're gonna have to. Those guys do really funny phone calls to each other, and then Dwayne, my friend Dwayne Morris, goes live on Facebook, and it's usually during like a Cowboys game because Dwayne's a big Cowboys fan, as other people are that we know.
True. That didn't work out for him this time, though.
No, no, it didn't.
Sometimes.
It didn't. You know,
A
you
long time
can't.
it was, though.
You beat the Giants 7 times in a row, but we finally got you this time. And I know he
Exactly.
was all team tank, and he wanted them to lose. And you know what? I didn't care. I was in it.
Everybody got what they wanted.
I wanted the Giants to win and beat the Cowboys. I got that. I wanted the Washington football team to lose to the Eagles. I did not get that, but they were within a crazy score and a ridiculous play of winning that game somehow. They almost grabbed a fumble and picked it up in one of the last series of the game, and managed to at least stay close. I mean, but whatever. Screw the Eagles. They can go eagle themselves somewhere. But anyway,
Exactly.
I guess that's that, Dog. Once again, fmsgraphics.com for all your printing and promotional needs. They are our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful sponsor. And hit them up. You didn't just because it's not holiday card time doesn't mean you don't need fmsgraphics.com for your printing and promotional needs. They are there for you all year round. Ordering is easy, and you will get your shipment very, 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 very quickly. So I believe that will do it for the first show. We are on the board for 2021 for the Dawg, Jeff Healy. This is Joe Rizzo. Diamond Diehards is out.